All right. What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Another episode of C-Suite Unfiltered. And now we're real podcasters because we're doing it over Zoom. So,
I
like,
think I like this. I think people might actually like this better because they get a more of a direct shot of our
yeah,
faces versus being where it's just the side shot of a side angle.
yeah. The front is my good side. The sides, no, but the front.
uh,
Sweet, man. Well, you're in North Carolina for people that maybe don't know. That is why we're doing this over Zoom. So you just went down there a couple days ago. Let's just start with how was the trip down? Let's start with that.
yeah, it was fine. Coming down, we flew out like at 5 a.m. or whatever on Sunday morning, and we actually thought our luggage wasn't going to show up because we ended up being in line for luggage for so long, and so we missed the 45-minute cutoff before like you're supposed to have your bags checked. So they're like, "Oh, your bags might not be on your plane." So, um, as you saw in Day Zero's video, I lost $500 on that bet. So we're gonna see how that betting meter goes, and then the thought is if I owe on the betting meter, that we'll just like donate it to some sort of charity or something. But
Yeah,
at this point, I'm in the hole 500 because of that bet. So,
I
although I
like
redeemed
the
myself, I redeemed myself because I also put a bet on when we went to the storage facility place. I said I bet by the time we get out of here, I'm gonna have an applicant and I'm gonna have an estimate. And sure enough, estimate came in. So.
Yeah, I love that. That's great. Side note, I like the new betting mic. I like where this is headed, personally.
Betting?
Betting. Betting, yeah.
Oh, betting. I was
Yeah,
like,
betting.
our betting here
B-E-T-T.
is not great.
No.
The covers are like so thin. But
Yeah.
anyways, I shouldn't say it so loud because the landlord is next door.
That's all good. No, I like this new betting venture we're going down. See, one day when I have more money, I would love to just do like just random bets with you. But like your betting leverage is much higher than mine, I would say at this
Well, I'm
point.
not betting
So
against anyone. I
I
wouldn't
know.
go that high if I was betting
Oh
against
yeah,
someone.
but I would. See that's what I want. Marcus and I, who used to be the GM at Bellingham, now as a franchisee, he and I used to bet on the NHL finals, and he sent
Yeah.
me a bet. He said, "Who are you picking for the finals this year?" Because it starts, I don't know, in like a day or two. He was like, "Who are you picking for the finals?" And I was like, "I'm rolling with my guys, the Florida Panthers." And he's like, "Loser has to watch a whole baseball game and pretend like they enjoy it." So anyway,
Oh man.
so down in North Carolina, travel went good. Dude, that touchscreen at the storage facility was very cool. If people haven't seen it, you walk into the storage facility and it said it's open, and then all of a sudden there was just like a touchscreen, and then you got a live call with a rep. Now, just from a business perspective, to dive into that was so cool because you had basically on-demand service, but the storage facility didn't have to have an on-site attendant, thus saving them a massive amount of wages. So yeah, just go into that a little bit. That was honestly really cool. Like, what was that like?
Well, like a storage unit is similar to like a gym, and that is that the vast majority of your expenses are fixed expenses, and the more you can reduce variable expenses, the better, right? So like the Anytime Fitness model is okay. We have everyone be able to scan their fob in 24/7. We don't have to
Mm-hmm.
have as many people, staffing the gym. We can only staff the gym 40 hours a week instead of 80 or 100. Um, and the same thing is true with storage, and that is the vast majority of your expenses will come from if you have to have a person sitting at the front desk all the time. And so, first and foremost, Public Storage is a franchise. I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah.
And then next is that what was really cool, I thought, is because it's part of a franchise, they weren't just locked in on selling me on that location. They were fine with me going 3 miles away to where we ended up going and reserving that spot. So that individual working for them wasn't working for that franchisee. They were working for Public Storage,
Yeah.
and then they simply say, "Hey, there's no available units at this place, but 3 miles down the road, here's what's available." They give me the pricing, and I'm able to sell through.
Yeah.
So very interesting. And obviously that person's overseas, probably much cheaper, and able to do it basically 24/7.
Yeah. No, that was really cool. And I instantly thought what you had just said is that they're a franchise because I saw the sign public storage and I was like, well, we have one of those in Bellingham with the exact same sign. So of course, gut reaction, I went and looked it up and I was like, oh, it is a franchise. Cool. And then I thought it's just like Augusta, how we have the command center for the franchisees who can answer their phone, and this isn't a sales pitch by any means. But I was like, oh, it makes sense. You can just touch a screen, ask for a live assistant, they hop on a phone call with you or a little mini Zoom call. I thought that was just a really cool feature, honestly.
Yeah, and then like everyone that says, if you, why would you franchise your lawn care business? Is the same thing with storage. Like literally, you're gonna paint your doors orange and throw a public storage sign out front, and you're gonna pay someone 8, 10%. I think theirs is more like 12% royalty. It's like, yeah, it's worth it if you can have that type of technology. And
Yeah.
so obviously, if the franchisor is not proactively doing that sort of thing, it's not worth it. But I guarantee there's no mom and pop that has a live agent like that with a touch screen and can cross sell and is
Hmm.
immediately videoing in and microphoning into me. Like it's incredible. And so that's where franchising makes a lot of sense, is the economies of scale to be able to tap into technology and enable the businesses to afford technology that would otherwise not be theirs. And that's even like what we're doing at Command Center. And I'm kind of breaking it publicly in the video in a day or two, so I'll say it here.
So
And that is, using AI to be able to answer our phones off hours, on the weekends, at night, 24/7, and
mhm.
it be very indistinguishable between a real human and AI. Um, and that cost us hundreds of thousands of dollars to build. And I think it'll become extremely accessible within 3 to 4 years. But our goal and the advantage of being in something like a franchise where you have buying power is that you get access to that technology the same way
Mhm.
that that type of technology with that kiosk is going to be normal in 5 or 10 years for probably the mom and pop using an iPad, but currently it's not. And so public storage has a massive leg up of that many years ahead of the game. And by the time everyone catches up, they've moved on to something else. And
Mhm.
so a franchise, in my opinion, is buying power into technology that other competition cannot afford. And we're only just now. I've always said, like, wait till we get 100 locations, we'll get some buying power. I had 50 for co-op, right? So we were able to like get a lot of our vendor agreements, and even if they like site one, I got signed up for. It was great. Um, Down here in North Carolina, but like the the real power of a franchise is the technology that is able to be accessible because of the buying power of so many locations. And even like
Mhm.
Anytime Fitness, now we're having where the phone opens up the door of every single Anytime Fitness, right?
Mhm.
That's an extremely expensive cost to them that I'm paying for with my royalties, but no other
Mhm.
local gym is having access to 4,000 plus gyms with your cell phone, and you don't need a key fob anymore. So there's
Right.
lots of cool things like that. And even with Anytime Fitness, like now on their phone, seems like I'm trying to sell Anytime Fitness, so I'm just explaining. And that is like
No.
now on your phone, you can see how many people are in the gym. Like that's a really cool feature that you're
Oh,
not
that's
getting.
super cool.
You're not getting that at a mom and pop, and that's a big reason why a lot of people don't go to the gym, is because they think it's crowded. Well, now you can look at your app and see, okay, approximately how many people are in the gym right now. And so, again, the power of franchise, and this is, I believe, what will lead to the consolidation of industries like lawn care, is the buying power of technology. And
Mhm.
so, I've been pretty consistently saying, next 5, 10 years of Augusta's journey is technology, and whether it be Copilot, P4P, a lot of stuff we have down the road, and then that will lead into robotics. But we'll be so far ahead when it comes in 15 years robotics
Mhm.
that will have the back end infrastructure of software to plug into the hardware, and it'll actually work. And then that's when you get economies of scale.
Right. Yeah. No, definitely. I know you're super busy. Are you staying up to date on My First Million Pod? Because I know you have referenced it before on this
Yeah,
podcast.
dude.
Did you
Yeah,
see the
I'm
one?
a religious listener
Yeah, they're
during
great.
workouts.
Did you see the video they did yesterday? I went to a billionaire's dinner.
Yeah, I did this morning. I listened to
Okay.
it.
Yeah. So I can't remember who they were referencing to, but there was a video of a guy who works in like a tech startup, AI, whatever. And
Yeah.
he's basically saying that like AI and the integration power that it will create for corporations is the new gold rush. It's the new .com. It's the new Facebook. It's the new YouTube. Whatever you want to call it, whatever bubble there is, it is the new one, and it's going to pop off. And if you're not on it, you're going to get left behind, essentially, in terms of making large amounts of capital. And I believe that wholeheartedly.
Yeah, and I think I believe that to an extent. I also believe that people said that about crypto. They said about NFTs. They said a lot of
Mhm.
things that get in the hype cycle. So AI is in the hype cycle. I think the valuation of the companies are ridiculous. It's like everyone just moves from thing to thing, right? Like last year
Totally.
or like 2 years ago, it was like crypto. Then it was NFTs, like new technology, and like all this garbage. And
Hmm.
then now it's AI, right? AI is completely overestimated right now, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Um, and people are taking things that, like, the big names like Bill Gates and Sam Altman and people say, but it's still it's still a ways off. It really
Yeah.
is. And so I'm not like I think every single person when you're in the middle of a hype cycle is a cool clip that they're talking about. And I
Yeah.
like to say like this is the thing, right? People say about everything. In my opinion, it's like who executes against it because back in 1999, Amazon was not the leader. They are not the head of, but they
Hmm.
were able to withstand the popping of the bubble. So in my
Right.
opinion, the AI companies that will win in the next 10 years are not the ones that are going to be the best technology hyped up the most now. For all I care, ChatGPT and OpenAI won't exist in 10 years. It'll be the companies that are
Hmm.
able to create business models that are actually sustainable, like Amazon, Facebook, Google, that came out of the .com and got through the drop off of momentum and hype
Right.
and then won, right?
Hmm.
And so that's just my opinion. I look
Yeah.
more at the business side than the technology.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think too we have to play with the big baddie on our back, which is the United States government, right? We haven't even had regulation start yet. I mean, there is elements of regulation, but wait until they start getting in there and telling these massive corporations can and can't do with AI, and then you'll see the Amazons, the Googles, the companies that can adapt and overcome those things. Those will be your winners in 5, 10 years, right? Because they have to navigate the regulatory waters, right?
Yeah, Sam Altman like played 4D chess with Congress though, basically, and was like welcoming
Right.
the regulation. And so ultimately, what's going to happen is companies like OpenAI and Google will be the ones that determine this regulation, and
Hmm.
will probably cut off a lot of innovation from smaller companies in the future. Uh, but I'm just like not in the hype cycle of it. Like honestly, I think it's
Yeah.
way overhyped. I'm very interested in who builds businesses on the back of this.
Hmm.
Um, and every single day I'm working with it, so I'm kind of like I feel like I see the guys who are in the hype cycle. I see the actual engineers working with it and being like, we've been doing this for years.
Right.
And so it just now becomes so mainstream and like with ChatGPT that it's becoming like a reality. But this is technology that's been worked on for a long, long time. Like we were
Hmm.
talking about Copilot being like AI, powered months before ChatGPT came out.
Hmm.
And the company I said that we're working with in terms of AI at Command Center for the phone side, they've been doing this for years. And so
Hmm.
it's just now that everyone like AI, and everyone
Right.
even like honestly, people know what AI means. Like 2 years ago, most of the population knew what AI meant, right?
Right.
So, anyways, sorry.
Yeah, no, no, you're good. I was having a conversation with someone and I said AI and then did like the stupidest thing ever. I was like, like artificial intelligence, and they're like, yeah, I'm not an idiot. I know what that means. I was like, I just sounded like an idiot tech bro. Like I know
Yeah.
something about AI. I don't know anything. Um, but yeah, to your point too about like Sam Altman, like even Elon Musk, he did that like super exclusive interview with BBC at like his Gigafactory. Was it early this year or late last year? It was fairly recent in terms of an exclusive with him. And he did like the classic Eli gets asked the question, or the classic Elon gets asked the question, pauses for 15 seconds awkwardly, and then goes, we must be very careful with how we introduce AI. And like he's doing the same thing, like 4D chess of like, I'm inviting regulation on it. I want regulation so that way I can manipulate it for Tesla and all my other companies and be on the inside of what will be regulated, right?
Yeah, he'll come out with his own version of OpenAI.
Yeah, totally. Well, he's already working on what is it? Neuralink?
Yeah, like even Twitter uses more AI than the 95% of these AI companies, honestly.
Yeah.
Um, so like even with what we're working with Command Center, like that AI that is actually operating is going to sound like a human being and communicate amazingly. It is a technology that you still have to build the infrastructure by which the AI operates out of. It's not generative. It cannot figure out its own thing. That's what they're all afraid of, is that it
Hmm.
can like learn, adapt, and then build, right? It can learn and adapt, but right now building anything is a very long ways off.
Hmm.
And I think we all get very hyped up and like we see the elements of building, like
Hmm.
it learning what you do and do not like and like being able to adjust and transfer things. But and I think it'll move fast. But ultimately, as you get more competition and people getting hyped and more money gets poured into it, the cost is going to get down, 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 and people get squeezed out in terms of profitability. They're not going to be any money because
Mm-hmm.
now you get someone like Google Bard will come in and say, hey, you don't need to pay us $20 a month like ChatGPT was wanting. We'll do it for free.
Yeah.
And so you're going to have a lot of money poured into it, which will bring the cost down. It'll be great for consumers. It'll be great for the technology, but businesses will fail because there's not, and no one's willing to pay for it. And so that's why ultimately a lot of times these technologies get wrapped up into the large tech companies is because they either acquire the talent, acquire the businesses, or they simply just cost cut everything to the point where no one can compete with them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I feel like I have like a half formed question on that for like your opinion. Do you feel that, and this may come across wrong, and I have people to like read into what I'm trying to say here, but do you think that people that embrace AI more readily have capital that they can deploy to use AI? Like, I feel like the common man, and I'm not saying anything negative, like I'm in pretty much every average demographic in the United States, right? But like the common man, I feel like, except for height, way taller than you and a lot of other people. But I feel like the common man or like boomers and like a lot of people I interact with, and maybe more people more conservatively right, like that's the majority of the people I probably interact with on a daily basis, just to be 100% honest, like are very, very opposed or very worried about the implications of AI. But I feel like you get these people with capital and they see how much it's going to save them. So they're going to basically force it down our throats, the common man's throat. Do you think that's a fair assessment?
Technology is going to move on with or without you, in my
Yeah.
opinion, and even theorizing or thinking about potentially trying to slow down is a fool's errand. Um, whether or not you're on the train and actually are part of the quote unquote gold rush, whether that be from a monetary standpoint, time saving perspective as a consumer, or simply just being someone who's a student of the game, that's someone's decision. And if they're gonna, like people, when I put the thing out about Copilot integrating with OpenAI last week, people were commenting on there being like AI is taking away American jobs and all the rest of it. And honestly, every single technology that came out, people said that. They said that about the tractor. And
Right.
a couple hundred years ago, 30% of our population in the United States was farmers. Well, now that's
Hmm.
less than one out of 1,000.
Hmm.
0.1% of people are farmers. And the reason for that is because of the tractor. Is anyone complaining about that? Does anyone want to put their hand and start pulling weeds by hand or
Yeah.
tilling the soil with a hoe? No, we moved on to different things. We figured out ways of creating cars, and then you have an entire industry around that, creating technology and software. And like today, I have an entire group of a team on laptops typing in code. That didn't happen 100 years ago.
Hmm.
So the tractor simply allowed people to focus instead of farming and pulling weeds, developing software. And so when
Hmm.
AI comes along, yeah, it will take jobs away. Robotics will take jobs away. Instead of trimming bushes and installing mulch and laying lines, we will start focusing on optimization of drones and the robotics and fixing the drones efficiently and fixing the robotics efficiently and communicating with customers and having a human touch to an otherwise very sterile environment. That's going to happen in 20 to 40 years. And
Hmm.
so, whether or not someone wants that to happen or not, it's going to happen. And so people can get afraid. They can say it's jobs are being lost and all the rest of it. I just don't see any massive need for jobs right now, right?
Yeah.
The labor market is just fine. We should be 100% supporting anything that is taking putting America back on the map in terms of technology. And
Yeah.
so that's just my 2 cents.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's bring it home. Last thing. I want to get back to North Carolina. I know we got to anytime let's bring up AI, we go down the rabbit hole. But I think it's just so interesting. But let's bring it home for Augusta, right? Let's get anecdotal with it. Someone comments, Mike, that's so dumb. Why would you do that? You're going to lose the level of professionalism that you have with Augusta, the people at Command Center that answer the phone, integrating AI with your phone service. People want to talk to a real person on the other line. That's not going to solve any problems. It's only going to hurt you in Augusta. What's your retort?
They're not my customer. My customer wants to talk to someone and get their problem solved. That's the only reason they call me. They
Hmm.
call one simple thing is that I have a problem solved, and the faster I can do that for them, the better. They don't care if it's a robot talking to them. They don't care if it's a grasshopper talking to them. They
Hmm.
simply want to make sure that their problem gets solved, and whoever does it the fastest and cheapest is going to win the game. And I could care less what commenters think about AI. I think about how we're responding, and they're going to call us in the middle of the night to see how the AI responds, and they're going to mock me about how it doesn't sound good at first because we're going to have to really iterate, and we're going to listen to every single call and have to fix things. And we have 3 phases of doing that. Yes, it's going to integrate as Copilot's going to actually kick butt next year, and people are going to be absolutely floored, and they'll be so far behind us they won't have a shot in the world. Yes, that will happen, but they can say whatever they want because ultimately the only thing that matters is the customer. The customer will win,
Yeah.
and if the customer wins, that company will win. And the only thing the customer wants is their problem solved fast and efficiently. And if AI can help me do that, then I'm on board.
Yeah. And this is no offense to anyone that works at a call center, but you and I have probably both
Wait,
had
hold
many.
hold the phone, hold the phone. For the fact that people at command center will hear this potentially, let me be very clear that the
Oh
same
yeah,
thing that
yeah.
was true with the tractor will happen at command center, right? We will go from answering phone calls, doing very busy work like copying and pasting and putting things
Hmm.
in estimate calculators, and it will move more towards, as time goes on, more of a consulting role with franchisees, focusing on payroll, hiring. We can really take a lot more on from a hiring perspective for our franchisees if we're
Hmm.
able to not have to deal with the minutia of creating estimates
Right.
and answering phone calls about like getting someone's credit card information or taking a review on the phone. That should all be done by AI, and then we would move our workforce over time towards more of a consulting role. And then down the road, when technology comes along, those people that were once answering phone calls about getting someone's credit card information and taking a complaint are now actually dealing and interfacing with robotics out in the field. That's what command center will do in 15 to 20
Hmm.
years.
Yeah, yeah. And just to clarify, what I was going to say has nothing to do with command center. I'm just saying, from a consumer's perspective, still playing kind of devil's advocate, I would rather talk to a finely tuned AI than I would someone from a massive call center that has the script that after I say anything, they're like, "Oh, that's great, Mr. Park. And how's your day going, Mr. Park? Oh, that's great, Mr. Park. Is there anything else I can do for you today, Mr. Park?" I hate that script. Talk to me like a person or be a robot at that point, like quite literally. And I know that sounds harsh, but such a robotic conversation. I'd rather have it with a very efficient AI than someone who's just going to treat me like I'm a number on the phone. Like, either talk to me like a person or make this more efficient. I don't care, just pick a lane.
Yeah, and devil's
And we
advocate to
hold
that.
on, sorry.
Yep.
And we don't do that at command center. We don't have scripts, so I don't want people to think like command center not coming at them. They're phenomenal people, but like I'm talking massive call centers, right?
Yeah, but ultimately, as any company scales, you have to have systems in place. And so, anytime you add more people, whether it be call center or any sort of unit level of production, you're going to have to create model systems, scripts, et cetera. And we do training around how to react to certain things, et cetera. There is a
Mm-hmm.
level of depersonalization. However, um, what I am confident in is that the rate at which AI will learn and adapt and become better is faster than the average human being. That is
Mm-hmm.
100% true. And so I would rather have the capabilities of a human being be focused on the things that a human being is good at. And a human
Mm-hmm.
being is good at creating empathy. They are good at having emotion. They're good at being adaptable to situations that are not repetitive. What AI can do better than a human being is those things. And to the critic of what you just said, they would say, "Well, I'd rather just talk to the person that I get the same person on the phone every time. They're local in my
Mm-hmm.
area. I can hear their accent, all the rest of it." That is true for a subset of people. The same way that 15, 20 years ago, there were people that only wanted to send checks, put cash underneath the mat, etc. But again, they caught up with the technology, and now everyone just expects cards to be on file. They expect to get their invoices in them. Like, for example, the person that I did an estimate today, they're extremely unhappy by the fact they don't get estimates in email. They're literally wanting to switch from their provider because they just see an invoice at the end of the month and they're getting charged and they don't know what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
So that was someone who didn't stay up with technology. And so, in my opinion, what will tend to happen is as technology increases, the cost of time becomes more and more valuable. And so consumers will be more and more conscious about the time that they're saving and the time that they spend on the phone talking to someone, the time that they spend waiting on a call back from someone because they left the voicemail yesterday and
Mm-hmm.
now they're just getting back from the day. All of that gets cut out with AI, and people will value time a whole lot more, in my opinion, down the road
Mm-hmm.
as we become much more globally integrated, as we become much more integrated with the AI, as we get used of using self-checkout, and we start getting used to calling and robotics listening to us. Self-checkout 10 years ago was a disaster. People hated it. It was,
Yeah.
full of memes, and even Home Depot over the past year has proven that they can take what was used to be a joke and turn it into something phenomenal in terms of
Hmm.
self-checkout. And now it's just adapted and people figured it out. And now I get annoyed when I have to deal with a checkout person that's like mundanely standing there and can't communicate for anything. I'm just like, give me a self-checkout.
Yeah.
And that will happen. That will happen in time. And so there will always be a niche of individuals that want consumers that want someone that is local and personalized and a one-off person. That number will become less and less as the value of time becomes more and more, and someone
Hmm.
just wants their problem solved. And that
Hmm.
ultimately is why a business exists, is to solve a problem for a customer. And whoever can do that the fastest, the most efficiently, will win that game.
Yeah. I agree with you. I agree. It's we gotta poke at each other a little bit, right? I'm just saying. All right, North Carolina. Jump back a little bit. Let's get a little bit more behind the scenes on kind of what's going on down there. So you couldn't eat until you got your first customer. You got your first customer. You can eat now, right? That's what I heard from Liz, at least. So,
Yep.
yeah. Anything else you want to share with anybody? I don't really have like specific questions prepared, but maybe you got the storage unit, you got the truck, you're down there, you're set up, you got at least one customer, you got somebody hired, and somebody from TikTok actually reached out for a job, or they heard you on TikTok, saw you on TikTok.
Yeah, so spoiler alert, that one didn't work out. But I did find someone else,
Ah,
hired them, sent them a job offer today. I filled out the form and commenced, and I'll send it out tomorrow. But I texted him and kind of confirmed things. So he's moving in town 4 hours away. He's moving in for the job, so that's a good thing. Chuck actually originally moved from Ohio to Mooresville,
yeah.
so that was a good omen. Uh, but he'll hopefully be my general manager, and I'm hiring him a little differently. Usually, obviously, you'd be hiring a laborer right now, but I'm hiring my GM. So I'm actually hiring him at $25 an hour. And then basically, as part of the jobs, like you will become my GM and that will switch to salary, basically at the same rate, 50, 55 plus, or 50 to 55 thousand a year. Like usually $1,000 a week is what we do for a GM starting. So it was a switch to that, but it's part of the job. And
Hmm.
so we'll see how that works. And then I'll probably try to find another like labor later this month.
Okay, cool. That's awesome. What's his name?
Oh, Wade is the one that we're hiring. So,
Wade. Cool. Welcome aboard, Wade. Stoked.
and
That's very cool,
the thing
man.
that's most frustrating, and you'll see it in day two, which is like today's video, so it'll come out in a couple days. Is like I'm just mostly frustrated by the fact that like I can't go do the things I know will move the needle for the business, which is like the door hangers and holding the sign next to the road, and even like just those things I know moves the needle for the business. I can't do this because like even today it was 2:30 by the time I was able to like start doing stuff in the business.
Hmm.
Um, and I got to get back here for meetings in the middle of the day, so it kind of messes up stuff up too. So like we kind of do our shooting for the video, like 8, 9 o'clock to like let's call it 11, and then I do my meetings, and it's kind of like okay, well now I got the afternoon, so it's just tough. But ultimately, like I'm doing behind the scenes videos for all of Augusta Nation, like longer form, just like talking to the
Hmm.
camera of what happened each day, and so me today, putting the decals on the truck, washing the truck, like those are useless, needless things to do
Yeah.
when you're actually trying to grow the business. They're just the busy work, right? So I was
Yeah.
just frustrated today. I kind of showed it on the video that like I'm not able to do things that I know actually move the business forward.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Has the sign been working? You've been holding a sign that just says mowing quote 2 minutes or something. Has
So
that
I was
worked at
only
all?
able to stand up there for like 30, 40 minutes. That's the problem, right? So I want to stand up there for a good solid 2 or 3 hours and actually get some metrics on it, so I can say, okay, I get an estimate per 30 minutes or 60 minutes or whatever. Because if I can do
Hmm.
that, I will hire someone. And so that's my goal tomorrow, knock on wood, and that is like go get at least 2 hours of standing out with the sign. Because if I can get one lead every 30 minutes, that would probably beat out door hangers, and I'd probably stick to that. But I could probably hire
Hmm.
out the sign, give someone minimum
Right.
wage, and then tell them like, hey, per lead, I'll give you X amount of dollars. So I'm gonna figure out the metrics of that. And I can't do that based on yesterday because it's like pouring down rain. I got one and called it right, and it was like
Yeah.
maybe 40 minutes of standing out the rain. It was horrible. So like one way is like, well, maybe they were sympathetic to you and that's why you got it, or it's like, hey, in my opinion, like no one wanted to stop because as soon as you roll that window down, you are stoked. And so we'll see. I think tomorrow will be a good test. I'll do it for 2 hours at least and see what kind of numbers we
Cool.
get.
Nice. I like that. Well, we'll dive back into North Carolina next week a little bit more. I'm sure there'll be more stories. You'll be a full weekend at that point. So I don't want to dive in too much, right? We'll get the behind the scenes next week. I want to switch it up here to something. I am a power user of a product that will stay unnamed, and I got an email from them today that they have recently partnered with Cardone Enterprises. So there is a well-known CRM that has partnered with Cardone Enterprises to have their sales training, sales tactics integrated into their CRM. And yeah, so what are your thoughts on that? Interesting.
Is that the same one that we beat getting integrated with OpenAI on email builder?
Yeah, that's probably the one. Yeah.
737 Max. Let's go.
The
Yeah, I think it's
737 Max. Yeah.
yeah. So I think it was a misstep. I think it was misdirection. I think they're going to get kickback from their audience because it's off brand. It's not going to be with Grant Cardone. I'll break that down real quick. They used his name. It's not going to be with him. Grant Cardone will not be your mastermind coach. It's a way for them to integrate with another product, slap their name on something, and then $500 goes off of the Cardone University. That's essentially what it is. And I've used Cardone University. I got it for free for 7 days, and it was, in my opinion, worth very, very little. I'd pay $99 for it, maybe $199. The vast majority of the actual training was 20 plus years old, 15 at least, and the
Jeez.
vast majority of everything else was just cut up of webinars that he's done in the past. That was
Yeah.
mostly, I would say, 60 to 70% sales, selling other products, and most
Yeah.
of the coaching and the masterminds that are $10,000, $15,000. So it's a big upsell. He will teach you how to sell by selling you stuff, and so
Yeah.
I think it's a bad brand move because anyone that does it will just see right through it very quickly, and that
Mhm.
is a slap a name on, give a discount to a very, very expensive product that has nothing to do with home services, and is what that it's just very off brand. It's a bad move.
Yeah. Yeah, it seemed weird to me because the email, like, if you see what the email is, it's like the praise hands emoji, like, yeah, and then it just says we got Grant Cardone, and I'm like, this doesn't, like, it doesn't compute. It didn't make sense when I saw it. My literal reaction was, what in the world? That's what I said. And I'm thinking
So
too, like, Grant.
here's why Grant did this. Let me be very clear.
Yeah.
He is buying out HVAC companies. And the 737 Max program has another program um, that will also go unnamed, but is a sister company inside of
Hmm.
a larger conglomerate,
Okay.
and that company focuses on HVACs. They do
Okay.
CRM for HVAC, and Cardone is currently buying out using Cardone Ventures a lot of HVAC companies. And if you look at his ads that he's running, is a lot against HVAC companies. And the reason
Hmm.
for that is they're buying a whole bunch out and then they're going to take it public. So
Gotcha.
that's his move. That's why he's doing it. He is not doing it for 737 Max. He's doing it for their partnering sister company, and that's why he's doing it. And so if he does show his face, that's why it'll happen. It'll be a pitch into Cardone Ventures. I can guarantee you.
That's just one a whole nother layer. Is this
Yeah.
is most of that portion public though, like the HVAC buyout and the partner
Yep.
company?
Listen to a podcast he did 2 weeks ago with
Okay.
Lewis House.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Yeah. And two, just from like a user of the 737 Max, if you will, it didn't make a lot of sense either because I'm like, well, Grant Cardone now is like strictly real estate and like B2B sales, and when you have a home service CRM, you're B2C. Like you're going straight to consumer, straight to customer. So I was like, even though he's
No,
like,
it's
oh,
B2B. It's B2B still.
oh,
Like you
really?
mean a CRM? A CRM?
Well, no, like the users of the CRM are B2C.
Okay. Okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
So I was like, and I know like a good salesperson can do
I got what
B2B,
you're saying.
B2C.
I see what you're saying. I see
So
what you're saying.
what I'm saying is like you're taking this real estate B2B mogul, and yes, he's a great salesperson. I'm not knocking him. He's probably better than I'll ever be at sales. But it's just like Jim down the street with his plumbing company doesn't necessarily need sales training from Grant Cardone, in my opinion.
It's a different form of sales, right? So yeah, no, I agree. I would actually massively just disagree with the fact that he's a good salesperson too. Um, the type of when he does sales on like videos and stuff like that, he's using a type of sales that would never work for someone that was not named Grant Cardone. You cannot say some of the things that he says to people on the phone. You cannot. You will
Yeah.
not. And he can get away with it because people will laugh. And then he'll say, "That's why I did that." It's like, that will not work, dude. I'm sorry, that will not work. And if you actually
Yeah.
listen to what he says in a lot of his podcasts, is he actually downplays sales massively. He just like get in front of people, just like be known, basically, right? And I believe that.
Mhm.
That's why he's
Yeah.
been
Yeah.
successful. Is be known. Don't worry about what people, whether or not people agree with you. And that's like even something that I've taken away over the course of the years of seeing his content and not agreeing with how he kind of does a lot of stuff. However, you cannot fault him for being known. Everyone knows who he is, and that's why that company would uh would use his name, is because he's been known, and that's the
Yeah.
value, is the name. And so even like when we do like our TikToks and all the rest of it, like we were getting between 15 and 20 million views just on YouTube, probably 20 million plus. And when you look at the other platforms a few months ago, using TikToks and stuff, and it's like, hey, that's a negative brand impression. It's like, I don't care. People will just see it. Well, guess what?
Hmm.
Like literally this week, I call my first applicant and they're like, are you on Are you, is your company
Yeah.
on TikTok? Um, and he didn't even see my face. That was on the phone.
Right.
And
Exactly. Yep.
Chuck just hired a guy, and he came from the content, and he said one of his best employees ever. So
That's awesome.
people can argue all they want with Grant's ability to sell, and they have right to. I don't think he's a good salesperson, but from a marketing perspective, he's been known, and that's the real value. Because if you can have a brand, and that's what he's established, you don't need to sell. No,
Mm.
like when this company 737 Max that's on there and says his name, that's all that needs to be said in terms of what's going to
Right.
come and be delivered. They didn't say a lot about like what you're going to learn, the strategies you're going to get from the sales training. They don't need to. They just need to say Grant Cardone's associated with it. Everyone knows what they're talking about, and so that's why getting known is so important. And it is far better to be known than liked, and that is what
Hmm.
he has lived his life by. And
Hmm.
you can't blame him for that.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I think it was a little tongue in cheek saying that like he's this world renowned salesman, right? Like I think some of my personal feelings about Grant. It feels slick, his sales ability, but I do think he is a great motivator for salespeople and does get people to kind of get uncomfortable with the sales side. Be comfortable getting uncomfortable, being known, being in front of people, talking to people. And when he does like some of his like you'll see exclusive videos from like conferences or seminars he does, and when he does like objection based like training with people, he is pretty good at like that objection based training. But objection based training, I don't know, I feel like there's little value in that unless you're just playing the numbers game of sales. I need to get in front of as many people as possible, and I know these 4 scripted objections, and I know exactly how to respond to them to make the sale, and if I don't close, I move to the next one. And I just feel like for most home service people, that's not how they're selling. That's just not it. They're trying to make a connection. They're trying to create a relationship with their consumer so that they have a trusted brand and can keep that customer, recurring in our industry, right?
Yeah, no, 100%.
Yeah. Sweet. Any other thoughts on that? It was just an interesting email. An interesting email on today. So
I have to keep some of my thoughts.
oh yeah, I know. I got to poke a little just to see, just to be safe. Cool. North Carolina, Grant Cardone, lots going on. You want to wrap it up with some non-financial advice?
Oh yeah, dude, I got one. So mine
Let's go.
is something that is like obvious to probably every landscaper out there, and I know I'm an idiot for not knowing this prior. And I always was like, why do you like? I got why guys wore long sleeves. All right, I get it. You're
Hmm.
in a really hot environment, but I never did. I never wore long sleeve. Always short sleeve.
Yeah.
Um, Dude, wearing long sleeves does make you cool off. Like, I'm
Mm.
not joking, dude. It helps you not get sunburned. Like, this is not revolutionary to 99% of
Yeah.
people. I know that.
Yeah.
But wearing long sleeves and like a hat with the thing over the neck is awesome.
Yeah.
I just started doing it last few weeks, kind of getting ready for the trip and stuff, and it's game changer. So long sleeves with a hat and a neck, the thing that covers the neck. I always thought it was just a bunch of hearsay, but it is not.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, hey, when I was in the field, I was going to throw this out there because I did have some of the guys at our local Bellingham shop asking me some questions, and my non-financial advice was actually weirdly kind of the same. Is like the net garters, like they're great. So getting like one of those buffs. So
Yep.
I always did it, especially back in the field. And this is nothing revolutionary either, but that's my non-financial advice: is get a buff, because when I was in the field, most of the summer I was spent doing projects, and that was back when we were
Yep.
doing walls, patios, lots of like earth moving, and so I was spent hunched over most of the day or on my knees, like building wall, building patio, so the back of my neck was exposed. I would get one of those buffs, and then I'd pour freezing, like cold water on it, and then I'd put it
Yep.
back on, and then just pull it up. Great move. So it's actually funny
Let's
we kind of
go.
had the same thing, because the guys were like,
Did
"What
the
are
hats
those
come in for
things
the
that
guys?
they just came in for the guys and giving them at the team meeting tomorrow?" So all of our
Good.
guys at the
Good.
local shop now have these awesome hats, these new hats, and sun hats that you got for them. So
Cool. Good.
stoked. Right on. Well, that's all I got, sir. Thanks for taking the time. Appreciate you stepping out of your busy week to join us on another episode.
C-Suite Unfiltered, baby. Wouldn't miss it for the
Season
world. Let's
Unfiltered.
go.
Like and subscribe.
All
We
right.
just
We'll
hit
see you.
400 subscribers. So
Let's
let's go.
go.
1,000 by October, baby.